Okay, guys, as promised, uh, Saturday morning, we have about an hour before I need to go to take care of some things, run some errands. So let's see what we can knock out on this last auxilia. Let's a little bit. Okay, that should be sufficient there. All right, so this is the guy that we're going to paint up, and we started painting his shirt last night. This will be my speed painting version. Let's see if we can knock him out in an hour. If we can't, we can't. All right. Get some airbrush thinner. Okay. Let's see where our yellow is here. All right, we'll just go to the next brush because that one's too big here. Let's see. I think this is what we're working. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, so just when I was done with these guys, I find out how this shirt uh, that they're wearing is pronounced, and it's Elena. So now I don't know how often I'm going to use this version of this medieval Irish army with the auxilia, because unfortunately they end up replacing the blades. So if I take any of these three auxilia, they replace the three blades. Um, if you don't run the blades, you got a really wimpy army. But then in the Anglo-Irish army, as mandatory elements, they have to have these. So I can use the same Saloy in the future to go ahead and build a few extra elements for the Anglo-Irish and have a match pair or an enemy for them. Bit of a break from the Irish because I want to do something that's a little bit has a few more flags and stuff on it. So I really got hooked on when I colorized Edward Bruce's flag, and I want to do more of that. That is when I took a design that I found on the internet and shaded it in as if I was doing this paint scheme, this paint style that I do, but in a drawing program, and was really happy with how that turned out. So I'm going to do some more of that in whatever the next army is. So can't guarantee there's going to be a ton of banners because I don't want. I've seen people that have built armies where every one of banners and it's impossible to tell who the general is. I don't like that look. It really kind of dilutes the look of the command stand, in my opinion. I mean, if you can paint it however you want, it's just not something that appeals to me. Do a few of those other banners and stuff. So, and of course, it's men's studios or Pete's flags. Both of those two outfits are. I was really surprised with Little Big Man Studios the other day when I actually got that. When I put the matte varnish on it, and it just totally flattened it completely. So um, that's one of the appeals for me to building things of this period, meaning ancients and medievals, because of doing flags. You know, you can't do any flags and doing World War II stuff. So, oh, there we are, the usual suspect, Kevin. Holy crap! I guess you haven't gone to bed yet. Wow, it's early there. Uh, and John Peter, how you doing? It's almost lunchtime where you're at, unless you're having one of those European lunches that are later in the afternoon. My lunchtime's 11 a.m. So but that's because I already had breakfast, and it's just past 5:30. Okay, so let's go ahead and do his skin. Good. We'll put a little bit more black on there. Make sure that it's still awake. Yeah. So we're gonna try to knock this guy out here in about an hour. I've got to go take the car for a PM prevent and take the daughter to drop her off. Got to get her up at 6:30. So, all right. It's how best could I reach this? I almost wish this thing was square. Let's bring it over here. With any luck, we'll have an unboxing to do today. So look out for that. Nothing terribly exciting, but one of the items in particular you'll probably see me use quite frequently if it works out. And I'm not going to steal my own thunder, so you just have to see it. But we'll do an unboxing on both of those things. I like doing those short videos. Not because they're short. Well, it is because they're short. It's because of the processing time. It's not the making a short video. So, okay, I need more of that. Pick. I don't know what pick means. So I need to watch some videos on how to do, um, what is it called? A beheading. Sorry, I got distracted by, I still don't know what you're saying. Sorry. Me no understand, Juan Pedro. That's your Spanish name, Juan Pedro. Um, a head transfer, a what do you call it? Head swap is what they call it. Now this guy'd be really easy to do because he's got a very jutting out neck. So I need to swap. So I got to figure that I have the correct body. I need to find the appropriate head for him. So lots of I I think I know which figure to use. It's got to be somebody that I have a lot of figures for. Cause so when I botch it, I don't have the only version of him. I say, I'm really hesitant, but I did something else recently and I was hesitant and it turned out fine. It's just unusual when you've been doing this for this long that you come across something that you're like, well, I don't know about this. I don't know if it'll turn out okay. And it's not that I don't have confidence in my abilities. It's that I've never done it before. So when it starts going sideways, I don't know what that looks like. I'm used to working on things that when things go sideways, I get an inkling of it happening before it actually happens so I can put a stop to it. And if I haven't done something before, then I won't know that I'm on the wrong track until I'm done with it. So, but hey, that'll be something. We won't do that live on video. That's a little too stressful. We'll make sure we know what the hell we're doing first. Another shoeless Irishman. The power of caffeine. Let's put this over here so we don't drink that water. I had a friend of mine that did that when we were painting together. I haven't done it yet. There, I covered myself. I said yet. Not a big deal, just don't swallow. Good morning, Harvey. Okay, John Peter says, one thing about lead figures, yeah, I still call them lead, who knows what they're made out of anymore, is that you can often bend them in a very pose, such as lowering an arm that will now thrust a javelin not through it. Yeah, I've had to do that. Yeah, you could do that with some of the softer ones, like the Essex ones, for sure. Those goth figures I received in the mail, I can't make an army with, so I'm not sure what I got them for. Are you ordering while you're drinking? Well, You can't build them because you don't have the cavalry for them, I take it. Or you don't have the rest of them. So order the rest of them. Goths are cool. I like monster goths. I got the foot stuff to build warband for them as well to turn them into um, gepids. I think gepids have 4 stands of warband. Warband are just god awfully bad. They encounter anybody mounted. They can't do anything, which may be realistic. They're probably my least favorite element. They're the element that if you give me, I have the least confidence in that they're going to bring me victory in battle. There we go. That's the long-winded way of saying what I'm trying to get to. You can't have too many goals. You can if all the people you play with already have them. I wanted to build those blue galls that are naked and painted themselves blue. That's pretty cool. The nudie Smurfs. You work for front rank figures some years back. The metals are alloys, and each manufacturer keeps his preferred alloy secret. Back in the day, front rack used a half ton. Well, you're doing 28, so you're cheating. That what front rack? I do surf a lot of stuff. Obviously, I know all the 15 millimeter manufacturers. The 28's only a few, and because I'll surf pictures of something, and invariably you get painted 28 millimeter figures, and some of them, some of the castings are really beautiful. What, say 30 years ago, I didn't, the 28 millimeter castings or the 25 millimeter castings, I think it was still called 25 at that point. I really didn't care for any of them. But since then, there's some beautiful stuff in 28 millimeter scale. In particular, a manufacturer called Steel Fist. That stuff is beautiful, but I can't do 28s. I'd be here, all week to paint one guy. I don't have time for that. Now, if I did some kind of skirmish thing, like if I was doing, say, skirmish 28s, and I was doing, say, some skirmish game like Three Musketeers or something like that. That would, which I've played those games. Those are a lot of fun. Um, I, I'd probably do 28s, but I only, and this was about 1990. See, did I still live at home? Yeah, I think it was 1990, and I paid a unit from Games Workshop. It's the only games from in a White Dwarf magazine, and liked the color scheme. And I painted them, and I held on to them for probably till the 2000s, and then sold them. I think that was one of the first things I sold on eBay that I had painted. And I've only sold things on eBay painted that I didn't want in my life anymore. So, but yeah, I got rid of them. That's the only 28 millimeter stuff I've ever painted. And they look like shit. Stuff didn't exist in my repertoire. Here we go again, skipping the eyes. Trying to be efficient. It would just be nice that when I get back, all I got to do is spray these guys. Oh, that's not true. I still have to do their shields. Ah, well, the hell with it. I'm not going to get them. I'm not going to get all the auxilia done this morning. No big deal. They'll get done today. That'll have to be good enough. And some metal figures are just floured into a pile of oxide. Ooh. Still waiting on my 99-cent armies. Yeah. Well, keep holding your breath there. They're just around the corner. I'm having trouble posting them. What's that thing? The better the army looks, the worse the worse it performs. No, I went too thick there and covered his entire eye. Did I? Just some of it's still showing. We're going to leave it at that. That's not really the focal point. The whole thing is that you don't want there to be this bulbous thing that's just dark brown. So it's good enough for me. This guy's an ugly dude anyway, so, you know. With a mustache size this guy's got, nobody's looking at his eyes. All right, somehow we need more oomph. We're using too little amount of paint. There we go. So it's got a piece of fluff here on the end. There we go. awkward looking figure. I don't know. It's better than what I'd be able to do, but I wonder if these sculptors that do these really nice figures can paint worth a hoot. Wouldn't that be funny if they can sculpt figures but they can't paint? Painting's easy. That sculpting stuff's hard. Wonder if they think the opposite. This guy doesn't have very well defined feet. He does have a pretty detailed face, but it looks like the face of someone who has a drinking problem with his neck like that. Oh, I have to find out what cartoon that is. I don't really watch adult cartoons, so I'm not really sure who it is. I want to say there's a guy that looks like him in a cartoon. Maybe a guy off Bob's Burgers or something like that. I've seen little commercials go by. I'm wondering if that's who it is. Awkward looking fellow. I don't watch adult cartoons. I don't really watch any TV. It's not worth my time. And things aren't funny anymore. So I've watched these shows that my daughter will find funny or whatever. There's too much of this. Um, we'll call it awkward silence that takes the place of humor. And it's like, okay, it's not. I don't find it funny. But yeah, speaking of steel alloys, there was a figure manufacturing company that came out. Let's see, what year are we in? 2020. This was probably 2008, 2007 or 2008, something along that. A Polish company called uh, Osmial Osmi, and it came up with two armies in 15 millimeter scale. Of course, they make other things, or they made other things, and those figures are now, the molds are now being manufactured by Fighting 15s. But at the time, Osmial came out with those figures, and they made um, Teutonic Knights, and they made Poles for the Battle of Tannenberg, 1410. That's what they supposedly were geared towards. Nice figures. They were a little lanky, which means maybe they were more realistic than really the figures that we see by most manufacturers these days, but they were kind of lanky. A buddy of mine and I both bought a Polish army. We were going to run a big battle game with them. We were going to do double poles and somebody or another. I forget who it was. I want to say Hungarians. And it was silly to do a big battle game. And we bought these figures. He's a much quicker painter than I am, so he started to work on them. And the alloy that they're cast in is so darn hard, it is almost steel. And I used to joke that the they were used. There was a Polish company, so they were melting down 255 tanks and using the metal to pour in the molds. But you couldn't. He wasn't exaggerating. I tried to clean a couple of them up, like the flash. Didn't have a lot of flash, but like the mold lines and stuff, you dull out an X-Acto blade in no time. You couldn't do it. He was in Korea at the time. He was in the army in Korea painting, and he said he just threw them in a dumpster. He couldn't deal with them anymore. He'd started to work on his. I had not started working on my army, and I sold it on eBay. But they're nice figures. So if you see them from Fighting 15s, I'm sure Fighting 15s is not using that the melted down Soviet bloc equipment stuff. That's such a hard alloy. So in the late 80s or early 90s, I forget which one it is. Here in the US, at that time, the only figures I was buying was GHQ. I was doing 1/2400 ships in micro armor. And about that time, they did like a big price increase. They did like a 20% price increase in it or something. I think it still has lead properties, but less than lead, than the normal lead. And at first, I didn't like it because if you got something bent, it's very hard to bend it back, or much harder. But now that alloy has kind of been the standard ever since, I prefer the harder alloy because it just keeps it from bending in the first place. I've got some figures that are of the older alloy because they're just in 15 millimeter scale. Because they're figures that I've bought at a flea market or whatever, and they're old, and I don't like the super bendy ones. So especially like lances and stuff like that, I'll just go out and replace. I'll just replace them. I'll just replace them with needles. I don't have to worry about them again. You know, pins. I call them. But yeah, that Osmi. They may still be in business, but I think they sold their 15s to Fighting 15s is the name of the company in the UK. They're on their website. But yeah, that's a crazy alloy. Melted T55s. I think the Poles still use. They still use. All these people playing Team Yankee. We played some of that modern micro armor in it's probably 88, 89, 90. Gorbachev kind of ruined all that. But I always thought it'd be cool to do something in what would I do? Early 60s? I'd probably do early 60s. I do a time period when the Americans had those M103s. They had the heavy tanks. They didn't have very many of them. I think they made 300 of them or something like that. I think that'd be cool. You could do T50. What are the Super JS3s called? T10s. You know, that'd be kind of neat. But there isn't time for anything. If I had to do it again, what I'd do is I'd play a 1 to 5 skill game like Combined Arms or Command Decision or something like that, or uh, what's the other one that they have? Spearhead, whatever it is, one of those 1 to 5 skill games, and then mount my figures on the counter that would be like, say, an inch by an inch. It's like an inch square, or I'd probably want to go metric, like 40 millimeter square, or maybe even round counters. That would work. And then I would put all the tanks in the platoon on the counter. So if you have a 1 to 5 skill game where each unit represents a platoon, do it in what is it, 3 millimeter? That's done by those poles. Is it Osmiel? Osmiel may be the guys that do it, or maybe it's Pico Armor. That's what it is. Pico Armor does 3 millimeter, I think is what it's called, and mount the whole platoon on one stand, and it would, you can move that around. So that'd be cool. If I didn't have anything to do, I'd probably do something like that. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I like the platoon scale game, but then show all the tanks in the platoon, and those things are inexpensive. I wouldn't want to do it with GHQs. GHQ is so expensive now. $495 or. And then I'd play it on a DBA size game. I'd play it on a little 2 by 2 foot table. Make short range engagements where the tanks have to mix it up with the infantry, because that's the problem with those type of games where you have tanks and infantry. The tanks just sit outside and just blow everything away at long range, and the infantry only have a chance. Even if they're equipped with Sagers or something like that, they're just going to sit at long range and just toes people, and I like the combined arms aspect. Jeffrey Smith, hello Jeffrey. Was good to see the Irish and Terran on the table last week. Don't despair. You won't meet elephants every week. Yeah. We may meet them on Monday. Have a theme, so we'll see. I had a lot of fun playing them, but I'm out of whiskey, so I got to pick some of that up over the weekend. that was um, that was certainly that was certainly a fun part of the experience. I rarely drink, and I do so much better with liquor than I do with beer. I'll have 2 beers and I'll have 1 beer and wake up with a headache in the morning because I got dehydrated. Beer just messes me up. I do a lot better with the full grain alcohol stuff. I didn't even mix it any. I was just drinking it straight. Well, over ice. I don't drink anything that doesn't have ice in it. See? Even my coffee has ice. Um, yeah, but I felt great the next day after that. So, and that was about, well, let's see, that was a 200. I'm not sure what it was. It was like a flash size thing, and I downed that all in 4 hours. But yeah, I'm not gonna play the Irish without drinking. How about that? Yeah, I like them a lot. Okay, that's about right. I feel like it took me a long time to get the flesh shading right on this guy. Maybe I was just talking, being distracted. That's okay. This is all pleasurable and pleasant. So let's do some highlighting on this guy that looks like the. I gotta find out who it is that this guy looks like. I think it's a guy off of Bob's Burgers. I don't know. I don't watch those things. It's this long neck, dorky looking dude. Who you calling dorky? You. Dinner, as the re-wetting drops, so to speak. That's good because I got about 197 milliliters of it to use. All right, we're done with this guy for now. Let's see. Like old Avalon Hellgaze. If you think back to the start of ancient wargaming, Tony Bass started with 30 millimeter flat figures. These were called tin soldiers, not lead. Yeah, I don't know those days. I didn't play any ancients or medievals until 2004 when I walked into a game of DBA. I've played nothing else. I honestly wasn't interested in it. Oh, what do you mean? I got to paint 30 figures and I'm done? And I can play with my own army? I'm in. But I've never encountered it before. Drink water before you go to bed. Yeah, yeah, you drink water all throughout the evening. Um, yeah, beer messes me up. I actually looked it up, and what I found out was that the problem is that the carbonation, apparently, this is what I read. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist and will never be a scientist. I'm not programmed like that way. I enjoy history. I'm a war gamer, and I like to look at maps, and I never get lost. That's the things I'm good at. Yeah, we'll use this color right here. Russian uniform, commie bastards. So supposedly the science behind it is beer, because it's carbonated, irritates the lining of your stomach and allows for faster absorption. So yeah, I can have a beer and be messed up, or have a beer instead. But so if I go somewhere, I usually have a beer so I could feel it. But if I'm at home, or if I'm going to play all night, I think I'm going to switch to. And I really like ice a lot. And I was able to keep ice in the cup all night for like 4 hours. So I'm probably going to switch to that if I'm going to have a drink on game nights. It's also weird for me. I've got to go to work the next day. So I think everybody that showed up the other night didn't have to work the next day. So doesn't matter. I'd still wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But it's just psychologically. All right, let's go ahead and paint this guy's cape this color. Oh, this is too big a brush for this. Too small a brush for that. Let's use a crappy brush for that. Crappier brush. But I don't really drink that much. And I don't really care much for drinking at the end of the day when I'm already sleepy. Because I'm up since 5 in the morning. So these other slackers that wake up at noon, you know, I like to wake up early and do whatever I want, which is called painting. Look at this deviant behavior that you guys are watching me take part in. That's what it is. Arizona's like ice too. Yeah, you guys must be from a hot as hell place too. I love ice. My body temperature is always hot, so I never drink warm coffee ever or hot coffee. Never switch to the smaller brush with this. Don't really need to. Like when you're trying to create folds in something that doesn't really have folds. I mean, they're cast on there, but anything like that. When you're trying to make something look like wood that isn't wood, that kind of stuff I like. All right, and now let's add a little bit of white to it. Geez, not so much. Easy there. People make sun tea in Florida. No, I don't know what that is. Actually, I could probably figure out what it is. You just put the water on your windowsill, right, and drop. I love tea, but always cold. And good morning. Quick question. Oh, hey, Doug. Do you mostly paint using layer technique? I always do. I guess that's what it's called. We always called it blending, even though we don't blend anything on it. But I started doing this about 1995, or well, we didn't have internet access. Let's put it that way. So internet allows us to share our ideas. But about 1995, 1996, I started painting like this, and I haven't stopped since. So yeah, I like it. I don't use washes or anything really for the most part. Um, and it takes forever, but I'm always happy with the results. That way I can put the shadows where I want the shadows to be. Yeah, I always use the layering technique. I guess that's what it's called. I think I've gotten in the habit of saying layering, but for the longest time we called it blending. But the blending happens here, not on the figure. Um, Yeah, but this predates the whole Foundry three color system. Um, I just think three colors isn't enough. I want more than, especially if you're doing 28s. I remember when that first started coming out in the late 90s, 2000s, something like that. They'd use painting flesh with like three colors, and I didn't like how they looked. It looked like like the faces would look like and the flesh parts would look like a meat cutting chart, you know. But hey, if that's how you like your figures to look, your figures, you can do whatever you want. And but if I'm going to spend the trouble doing it, then they're gonna be my creation. I don't care for I don't care for the faces. I could get probably some parts of it down to three colors, but I couldn't do flesh down to three. It needs to be more than that. It needs to be about, what is it, six or something like that. See, that's why I can't do 28s. I'd be more likely to do like 12 different things on 28s, and that's just, I got a job to go to, unfortunately. I can't just sit and spend that much time on a figure. I'm painting them to use them in games, not to sit on a shelf. So I've pretty much given up on modeling. That's um, that's just a waste of time for me. I want to be able to use the stuff I do stuff with. Okay, how are we? I think with that, we're good with that color. Yeah, yeah, I like the layering technique, and I'm sure I have had something to do with something I saw on a magazine or something at the time. But it was pre-internet. Now, now we can all copy and get good ideas from each other. So nothing dishonest about copying somebody else's technique. It's dishonest if you say you came up with it. Everybody's learning from each other. Things are much better that way. Nobody has all the answers. So basically, base color, then lighter color, then lighter color again, then lighter color again, then lighter color again. Yes. If you think of it like a number line, okay, if you think of it like a number line, let me get a pen here. Let me draw on my surface. This is the way I've always. Oh, I gotta go wake up the daughter anyway, so this is a good time to talk about this. How can I not have a pen here? My room is too clean. Bear with me. I've got one right over here. And let's grab a piece of paper, because I don't want this to disturb my cleaning area. We got lots of. Let's get a post-it. Okay. I've gone over this before, but you probably haven't seen it. Let's say I want to paint something in this color. Okay. So we have our flat earth. I'm not a theory person, but this might help a little bit to understand what it is. So if you have a number line here where you have a 0, and then you have a -1, and you have a -2, and then a +1 and +2. If you think of this color here, here is your flat. Hopefully you guys aren't seeing it back asswards. You may be. Well, I can't write backwards. I can't write upside down. So, okay, there we go. All right. So this is your color paint that's right here. Okay, and you know that this is really the color you're trying to paint. So what you do is, let's go a little bit further and go -3, and then we'll do a 3. Okay, so these colors here you use a darkener with. So you start off painting everything in a -3, and that's by adding a lot of the darkener, which is almost always with this color would be black. Okay, and you paint everything in this, and then you start hitting the highlighted parts with a little bit less black, then almost hardly any black, then this color, then you start using your lightener, and your lightener can be a white. Generally, it can be a light yellow. It can be a lightener until you get to that. And that's basically what I do now. If I was going to do yellow, okay, if I was going to do yellow, you can use black with yellow, but you're going to start getting a greenish tinge that you're, you go on and on. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, I paint really thin, so I'm not covering up any detail by painting this many levels because it's really thin. It's really thin, so it dries fast. You use less paint. I mean, it's just always how I've done it. So now, if you're going to do yellow, and your yellow say is, let's find one. Then you can use black, or you can use this as your darkener. Okay, so then you add quite a bit of this with some yellow here, and then less of this with yellow here, and eventually work yourself to here. And then when you're at yellow, all you can do is highlight. You can use a lighter highlight like this, or maybe even white, what have you. If you're doing a red, okay, if you're doing, well, I don't want to pull one out. They're kind of all set together, but if you're doing here we go. If you're doing red, okay, you normally use black. You can also use a really dark brown to get up to this level. And then when you lighten here, if you use white, it's going to go pinkish or a faded red color, or you can use a yellow to lighten it up. That's pretty much what you do, you know. Now, so I generally do not take two colors and blend them together to create a new color. The only reason I blend a color with it is to create the negative colors, and then another one because when I'm doing flesh, here's the flesh color I'm using, but I'm using both of these together. It has many more steps. So I'm using almost this, and then you start mixing this one together, and then eventually this one takes over and I add light. And that's how I do the Caucasian color. And that's worked well for me, you know? So if you think of it like a number line, it kind of helps you think that's, because I'll use terms like shade, value, and stuff, and honestly, I don't know if I'm using them correctly. But this is how I think when I'm painting is the number line is oh, okay, I'm gonna eventually get the zero, where zero is the core color. That's what I like to call it is the core, and that's what I've been doing for. I don't even know anymore. Let's see, 10 years ago would have been 2010, 20. For 25 years, pretty much. So I've been really happy with it. It works for me. So yeah. So hopefully that explained what was going on. So all right, I'm going to go. I'm not going to shut the feed off. I'm going to go wake up the. Yeah, that's. I'm glad you. Maybe this will help you understand. I guess I should probably do a video on it, but I don't want you guys to paint how I paint. You guys can paint however you feel comfortable with. Some people want to use the dip method. Hey, it works for them as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, and But the one thing I'll say is, there's people that there's always somebody that's going to outpaint you, and there's people that just run circles by cutting corners. The method that I've seen them paint takes just as long as, because I think I take a long time to paint, but there's really no way to cut corners. My corner cutting method is using this because this keeps me from having to pull more black out and drying out, pull more white, that kind of thing. I'm able to use these colors for a longer period of time, but other than that, I really don't see a way to really speed up the process. So the other solution is just make sure you paint as often as you can. So I'm trying to paint every day. It's good therapy, or movies, news, anything like that. It's better than all the bad shit out there. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go wake up the daughter and she'll start getting ready, and I probably got another 15 minutes I can spend on this. So I'll be right back, guys. Okay, and we're back for a little bit. Do you paint from inside out on miniature? No. No, I don't think about it. I can reach anything. I can reach any point that I want. Um, Start with bright colors, then wash with dark, then dry brush with light. Yeah, I used dry brushing back in the '90s, and I use it only like on chainmail and stuff like that. It doesn't work for me anymore. It's too uncontrolled. Guy that's in this army, I don't remember what color the other guy's hair is. I want to say he's dark. We're gonna make this guy blonde. So. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, if you're happy with what you're doing and how you're painting, paint by that means. I don't need to convert anybody to this way of painting. This is just what I do, and maybe you'll see something that goes, "Oh, I never tried that before," But I'm not making any money off this, so you guys can continue painting however you're happy with. Um, doesn't bother me any. Oh, why am I doing this hair now? Oh well. Yeah, so the order that I paint things is usually more important for me to visualize how the figure is going to look than anything else because I can reach anything I want to. There's nothing that I can think of that I paint. Well, I got to paint this first because if I do it later, I'm not going to be able to reach it. It's more important for me to see how the colors go next to each other than it is from the standpoint of not being able to reach the color location. Like some things don't make sense. Like I wouldn't paint his mustache before I painted his face. You know, I wouldn't paint the hair before I paint the face. I meant before I painted his flesh. You know, but it's not because I wouldn't reach it. It just wouldn't make sense to me. But there are times what I have started doing is I've started doing this thing that I mentioned it before, calling paint what you know. Like if you have a figure and you know he's going to have a red shield and you can't wrap your head around anything else, just go and freaking put it together. I've had to do stuff like that. Like, okay, I don't know how this is going to go next to him. It's not like you can just take a picture of them, make it black and white, and then go into a drawing program and highlight the different things and see how they go together because that would just take longer than just jumping in and doing it. You could kind of psych yourself out of painting something if you just think about it too much. Just jump in there and paint your way out. Get a smaller brush. Yeah, this is okay. There's plenty of moisture on it. Actually, I haven't added water in about a week, so this is plenty moist. The problem is the more paint you have on here, the less surface area this paper has to stick down. So it tends to curl up, but it works just fine. I mean, it's but I haven't tried those contrast paints, and I probably won't. I feel like that's a step back for me. And it's also kind of taken the place of doing the stuff that I really enjoy, which is adding the little folds and different color levels and all that stuff. I enjoy that part. I don't enjoy basing the color, the figure in black and stuff like that. That part sucks. Cleaning the figure, cleaning the flash. I hate that part. There's no methods to avoid that. I kind of wing most of the stuff that I'm doing, but that whole number line system's kind of what kind of plugged into my psyche. Remember where you are in the process. If you're painting something, the other thing to consider is if you're painting something that uses like a number line system or something like that, you want to make sure that the color you use for the darkener isn't too light because you can only lighten from there. So if you start with a color that's not very dark, um, then you can't add so many levels. You're kind of restricted by that. So make sure you go dark enough that you can add a couple or three levels down from the core color and then be able to build up from it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to have any depth to it. Or you'll have to lighten it up so much on the other end that you get a color that you really didn't want. You know, you're going to have to add some. I don't know. You just do it. If you want to try it, do it, and you'll figure it out. I mean, but it's done with really thin layers. So most of the time, I'm going to say the color underneath it is peeking through to some degree. So that's kind of your natural blend. Is you're not really blending the colors because I'm applying the color on top of it after the color underneath is already dry. So they're not blending together that way. They're almost like showing through. So maybe thick watercolors. Watercolors are exactly the opposite of this. In watercolors, you paint everything in the lightest color it's ever going to be, and you keep darkening the spots that are going to be darker. This is the opposite. All right, let's. And where's my white at? Still find a little bit of life in that. All right. So this javelin, we're going to mix in with some brown. Yeah, see, and that's too close to the flesh color. So I'm going to punt. Did we kill the black? No, let's go ahead and put some more on there. All right, so let's. And I'm really happy with the pennies. Putting them on pop squares doesn't really help me because I'm not painting more than one figure at a time. Yeah. The other thing is that I like being able to manipulate this figure however I want because I want to keep the painting hand right where it is. I don't want to move it out. I don't want to paint in the middle of nowhere. I want to keep it braced here on this table that doesn't move, and it makes it extremely comfortable. Um, I could do this all day. I have done it all day. I just have to get up from time to time because if anything gets tired on me, it's me bum. But you know, I could probably paint for 8, 12 hours, no problem. It's easy on the vision. People that don't paint are like, man, isn't that hard on your eyes? Nope. Nope. The focus distance is always the same. It's very eye relaxing. All right, this guy's got a strap on his shield. I'll make sure we don't forget that. Let's go ahead and do the. Do we still have metallic left from last night? We do. We'll have to do the rim later. shield color. Let's see what other kind of shields we have on there. Do we have one that's reddish yet? No. Okay, it'll be this guy. It's not very reddish, but we can use this saddle brown color. Some red properties to it. Sun tea tastes great with ice. I take it that's what it is. That whole windowsill thing. The problem is that's just too much planning. I don't have the patience for stuff like that. Like, I want to drink it. I want it now. Not this. Oh, it'll be ready in whatever. That guy's so impatient. I'm patient on my painting. This is where all my patience goes. We're going to be lazy. We're going to paint the strap using this same color. Let's ditch this big painter thing on one color brush. And right, so what we're going to do is we still have that. Let's just go ahead and add white to it now. And this is going to be the color the strap is going to be. Okay. Now we can go back to this what we were doing working on and bring it out. And we're going to leave this B all the way up because we're going to have to put designs on here. So that's what we're going to be left with this auxilia. We've got a half dozen shields or so that need to have designs on them, which I think are really cool, but I enjoy that process, but we'll still have that left to do when we come back this late morning. Okay, so this guy is now complete. And this is going to be a wrap for when we do an hour and a half. Okay, we got this guy done in an hour and a half. That's not too bad. Yeah, so anyway, so this is, we're going to stop for the morning. We'll go do things that we got to get done in the morning. And these auxiliary are complete. Thank you. Let's see, we can do better than that. We can do this and this. Let's lock it there. Actually, I gotta lock using this one. It's gonna be kind of at an angle. Oh well. Here's the auxiliary complete. Of course, their shields aren't fully detailed yet. We'll do that when we get back. These are all Essex figures? No, these are old Mike's models, which I guess technically are Essex. Oh, this guy's the behemoth guy. He's a museum. Yeah. Anyhow, we'll finish these guys up with the shields this afternoon, and you know, this army will be done. See ya.